We'll call this meeting to order June 6th. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome. We've got a couple of questions to our treasurer, so we're a minute late starting. Please appreciate your indulgence there, and we'll get a couple of answers on those concerns, but we'll go ahead and start. We need to start with a roll call. Ms. Harris, will you help us with that?
Sure. Councilmember Lynn and Councilmember Sellers are absent. We need number one.
Thank you. We have an agenda before us. Is there any changes to be considered with that agenda?
I'll make an motion to approve the agenda, Your Honor.
Mr. Welling with a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lynch seconding. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? We have an agenda. We've got the council minutes for May 16th. Any concerns with those minutes? Is she going to call us back or text you or whatever?
She was going to call back, but it's on silent.
So we'll try to talk slow so we get that information before we get to the bills. We can, if there's no concerns with those minutes, we'll acknowledge those as they've been prepared and go to the work session of May 23rd. Any concerns there? If not, we'll acknowledge those as well. We're at the bills. We've not heard back from her.
Go to council comments.
Shall we do that, and then we'll come back to the bills? Can we do that? Let's go to council comments, and then hopefully in the meantime we'll hear back from Trudy. We have a question on our warrant, on our bill register today that we've got a phone call into Trudy, who's not here at the moment, and so we're hoping to get a clarification from her before we consider that approval. So let's go on to council comments, and then we'll go back to the bills when the time comes, if that works. Mr. Lynch.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
We need to say something, so we take time to hear back from Trudy.
About potholes.
I don't want to talk about the potholes, but I know Gordon and the gang are going to do their best to pick it up a smidge and get them filled. It's very expensive when you take out a wheel.
Yes.
That's all I got.
That's probably enough. I don't blame you. Perks.
Just a reminder, school's out. Watch for the kids. They're darting into the roads. They're playing on their bikes. We don't want anybody hurt, so drive carefully.
Yep. Exactly.
That's why we have potholes.
Speed control.
That's why we have potholes, speed control.
Slow the people down, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much. Graduation went off well, and I attended 6 graduation parties Saturday, so I had my fill of parties in Sal. But if you're praying for moisture, please quit. I need to mow my lawn. But other than that, I don't have anything.
Thank you. Ms. Hagelin.
Congratulations to all the graduates in every, that's a huge accomplishment, whatever grade it is. And just a reminder, the businesses on Lincoln Highway have been hit hard and will be continuing to be hit hard because we do not have the rodeo series going. So please keep that in mind and try to spread money around and maybe go visit one of the businesses there, Jody's or Don Pedro's or Spanky's or wherever you may choose, but just keep in mind, it's going to be a rough summer for them to make ends meet. So go get some food over there. And I'll add, because we're waiting for Trudy, I'm watching my grass grow. I cut it, and then it rains, and then I'm watching it grow behind me like a cartoon. Wow, this is crazy. Somebody turn off the faucet.
Yes.
No kidding. Exactly. Well, I'm wondering if, I don't really have anything, I want to make something up, but I can't really have,
I did hear something.
Okay,
Your Honor,
please.
if that's okay. She said, it's not a duplicate. We had 3 payrolls not too long ago. We might have had to show 2 on this register.
okay,
Thank you.
okay.
That makes
Clarified
sense.
enough to,
Good assumption. Yeah.
okay.
That's what I thought.
That makes sense, yeah. What we have is on our warrant register, which is the list of our bills, we have a duplicate, a set of duplicate payrolls. And it's not that we don't want to pay everybody, you know, as much as we possibly can. We just want to clarify that we've got things appropriately on that. That makes sense, what Amanda's saying. So maybe we'll go back to the bills.
We'll have 5 Fridays, so there'll be that extra payroll this month. So they probably want to get in before the next
I'll
month.
make a motion to approve the bills.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the bills. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Welling seconding. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Any opposed? It's approved. We've had our council comments, so now we'll move on. We do have a board appointment to consider. Our tree board, our tree advisory board. I would like to bring forth the name of Susan Anderson to be reappointed to serve on that board for a 3-year term to end June 2026. If somebody would like to make a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to approve that appointment.
Mr. Perks?
I'll
Is it
second.
Mr. Lynch seconding. Is there any discussion? There is none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? That is approved, and we appreciate her service on that board. We have no consent agenda items nor unfinished business, so we'll go to new business, Resolution 2337. Ms. Kirby, will you read that title for us, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution 2337 is a resolution of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, authorizing the execution of a planned maintenance agreement and addendum with Cummins Incorporated to provide maintenance and electric generators used by the city.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is our annual agreement with Cummins to do our generator load testing and maintenance that they come and do every year. They come in the big backup generators for both treatment plants and for the police department and for the Sulphur Creek Dam. They come and do their load testing and make sure that they can handle the load if called upon. So,
Same as in years past.
It is,
looks like
yeah.
to me. Yeah.
yep.
Is there an introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce the motion to
Motion to
pass.
pass.
I'll second it.
Stereo.
I don't want to get a bad grade on my microphone tonight.
You're going to second? I heard you say second.
I'll second
So
it. I'll second it.
Give Mr. Lynch the motion and you the second, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, is there any opposed? That's approved. Resolution 2338. Ms. Kirby, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a resolution of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, authorizing the execution of an agreement for professional services with JUB Engineers Incorporated to provide engineering services for the Evanston Twin Ridge Transmission Line project.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Filling in for Dean tonight, so we'll see what we can do here. A few years ago, in 19, we did a water master plan to do a study on the water system and where needs were for growth. And the first thing they identified was that we needed a bigger transmission line from the E Hill treatment plant and tanks there to the satellite tank at Twin Ridge. The growth out there, the tank is big enough to handle the growth, but the pipeline going to it is not big enough to keep the tank full, or the right levels that we need when the demand is high and that kind of thing. So we looked at a second tank there, but the studies have shown that the pipeline needs to be resized rather than a second tank. So Dean went through the procurement process for engineering services, and it was determined that JUB be awarded the contract for this.
And I think you said it, but I think that study, as I remember it, it did show that our capacity, our storage capacity was adequate, but the line was not sufficient to keep it full.
It's currently an 8-inch distribution line. This will be just for transmission. There will be no service taps off of it. So it's kind of a redundancy thing built in as well.
But it also is the way I read it. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way I read it, it would in essence save us the cost of having to build a new tank, which is something we were discussing.
Yes.
And the line improvements will provide that adequate service.
And it's important to point out that Dean has gone through the system with the Wyoming Water Development Commission and has secured grant money for a portion of this, for a large portion of this. So it's grant funding from the state for Wyoming Water Development.
Good.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Robinson? We ought to find that question he can't answer since we've got him on the spot. We won't. Well, I don't know. Maybe we will do that. Please go ahead.
I have a couple questions, and that's why I was like, my printer crapped out on me right when I was printing all of this. There was two other companies besides JUB. Can you, because I don't have them here because my printer decided to.
There was UN Engineering and Forest Green here in town as well.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because two of my constituents came to me that belong to one of those companies, airing some concern on why an outside company was not awarded this contract. Can you help clear that up so there's no confusion and to...
What do you mean an outside company?
Outside the state. So JUB is in Idaho, I believe, and when I asked...
They are all over, and they have an office here in town, and they employ local people here in town.
And I should clarify that I'm neighbors with I have an office right next door to them. So they have a couple of engineers here. They don't go back. I'm just asking. I'm not attacking. I understand. I wrote to Dean on these concerns as well, and he sent me. I just want for the record, so there is no ill will.
Okay. A situation like this, you basically have 3 employees looking for one job. So there's going to be 2 that are disappointed. There was a process where it went through a committee of 5 people who rated. We received a list of qualifications from each engineer. They went through this process with this committee. The committee rated them with scoring, a scoring pattern or a scoring sheet for each one. And those scores, each person on the committee scored them individually, and then the scores were tallied, and JUB is the one that came out on top in the scoring system.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any questions, further questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
May I speak?
Sure. Mr. Wall.
My name is Chloe Wall. I live at 142 Springbrook in Evanston. I have lived near or in Evanston for 80 of my 85 years. I had to go to the Army one time, and I had to leave town because there wasn't work. But I'm one of the people that put in a proposal for UN Engineering on this job. And I question whether the committee considered how much good it would do Evanston to keep the money at home. That would be with UN Engineering. Now, I would ask the council tonight to table this until they could analyze to see how much good it would be for the city, tax-wise, to keep that money at home. In other words, shop at home, Evanston.
This is always a tough spot to be put in, quite honestly, and it's not one that I don't think any of us enjoy, but occasionally these kinds of things happen. We want all of the businesses in town to be successful. We want all the opportunities that the city can provide to be equally shared amongst all those. I hear your point, Mr. Wall. I have great respect for you and your firm. There's no question about that, or at least I hope there's not any question about that. We want you guys to be successful. It's just a tough spot to be in. We put together these committees to investigate these kinds of things as thoroughly as we possibly can to make the best decision we can, and for whatever reason, that is what the decision anyway that the committee came up with. Whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't know what to say, but that's what they said. As far as that goes, what's your pleasure? I mean, I don't know what the time frame on this is. Have we got? Is this something we need to move on immediately, or do we have a minute or two? Maybe that's not a fair question for you, Gordon.
Dean would be able to answer that, but we are under, I mean, it's time to get going on it. It's already been 2 years in process getting financing set and having Wyoming Water Development Commission on board with it, and I mean, we're quite a ways into it, but.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens here. This is a decision of the council. Is there an introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce it with a motion to pass, Your Honor.
Perks with a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Welling seconding. Discussion.
I know I've been on several of these committees, even though I was not on this one, and we try to look at everything, and no one takes that lightly in those committees, and it's a very difficult decision. And I believe whoever was on this committee probably did their best job that they possibly could. And usually the engineering companies are so close, you could almost flip a coin. So that's my 2 cents.
You said that the JUAB has 2 engineers here?
They have one that's part-time in the office, and sometimes I see some other traffic, but for the most part, it's a satellite office, and they work from home. I'm glad you brought that up, because it is something that I am constantly wondering, and do we have, when we choose a California company or an Idaho company or somebody outside of the Evanston or the state of Wyoming, I'd love to be able to see the analytics of how, and broken down in statistics on how this benefits us. That, how many people are there? Is there a sliding scale we can develop? Our town is small, but it is needy and it is hungry. And is there a way that we can, as a city and as a governing body, come up with a sliding scale? And perhaps, because, ultimately, anybody who's employed here shops here, goes to school here, donates here, fixes our potholes, they help, they pay taxes, they do all the things we need, versus every time we go outside, we lose all of that in substantial amounts. And so I've often asked, how many people, when something is brought before us, how many Evanstonians will this employ? And this kind of goes along, this is a bigger thing, but I would love to see the breakdown. How much is JUB going to give back to us on this contract?
What do you have, 8 to 10 employees that have homes here in Evanston, Chloe, with you on engineering?
We have 7 people that live in Evanston that have been here for years. They would do most of the work.
Do you have the machinery? Do you have everything that it takes? I know that JUB is a big company, and they have satellites everywhere. You know, can you do it?
We do have the people to do the job. It is not going to take 5 engineers. One can do it. We have been the engineer for the Joint Powers Board in Bridger Valley from the day it was started, and nearly all the work on that for 40 years was done by UN Engineering. We've done the subdivisions in Evanston, Overthrust Meadows, Uinta Meadows, Crestview. We're just finishing one up in Green River. So we have the people to do the job. And like I said, the city of Evanston would profit by us doing it because that money stays in town and is turned over every time we go to the store.
Do we have 2 weeks? Can we afford 2 weeks for just kind of, these are our townspeople we're trying to help. So do we have 2 weeks?
We could do it in a week. We could have a special session during the work session.
Yes, can I answer some of that?
Yes.
The tabling portion, sure, that's 2 weeks, but I've been working with Dean on the contract, so this is just for information purposes only. They will have to go back through the state and get reapproved. If a new engineering company is selected, all of that, you know, the grant funding, all of that will have to be reapproved. And so that takes time because
would be
that's
a
another
timely-
party that has to review the contracts, and then the city will have to review them again, of course, and then things will have to get started. I also understand that a survey may have already occurred last week by JUB, so likely we will still have to pay for that. So that's just for information for the council.
Okay. Well, it's a tough decision, I recognize that. We've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just to clarify, I have a question. Ms. Kirby, how long give me 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, what you were talking, can you give me a?
It depends on when the engineering company composes a contract to bring to the city, and then I will review it. Usually simultaneously, the state will be reviewing it for, you know, their bits that they need in there to give us the grant funding. So I don't know how long it would take the firm to get us the contract, so whatever that amount is, and then probably 2-week turnaround between reviewing of the city and the state. So it could potentially be another 3 weeks on top of that, and then I imagine whatever is done here, there would have to be some other, you know, meeting with Mr. Barker and the selection committee and things like that too. I don't know, Mayor, I may be wrong, so correct me if I am, but there would probably have to be some more going into.
I'm sure you're right, and I would assume that your timing, honestly, is fairly conservative. I suspect that would probably be, in all reality.
We've been 2 years getting this far.
Yeah, it would probably be.
It's not.
Stretch it out a while. I don't know exactly what that time frame it is. But I think if we were to not do this tonight, to think that we could have another decision or be able to make another decision within the next month would be very surprising. So. Well, we've got a motion and a second. I'll just call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed?
You were nay?
Nay.
Nay? Okay. That's 3-2. Okay, thank you. And again, it's a tough decision to make. I want all of our engineering firms, we appreciate everything that they do. We want them to all be successful. I know that's an empty thing to say. I know it doesn't mean much at this point, but it is the reality. We want those. We need the services, and we want people to be healthy, and that's just a tough spot to be in. Resolution 2339. Ms. Kirby, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution 2339 is a resolution of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, authorizing and ratifying the execution and conveyance of the underground right-of-way easement to Rocky Mountain Power, an unincorporated division of Pacificor, to provide for electric power to the fairgrounds property.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobson.
Your Honor, Mayor, Council, I'll present this one tonight for Rocky Mountain Power. They're proposing an easement agreement or an easement agreement with the city to provide power to, as we all know, there's new grandstands and some work going on down at the Uinta County Fairgrounds. And this upgrade with the power utilities will help with that project. They are proposing an easement that will, shown in the line, that's approximately 15 feet in width by 360 feet. That will extend from the north boundary line, right-of-way line of Bear River Drive to an existing transformer that you can see in the upper northeast corner of the site. There's some new equipment that's being proposed about midpoint, as you see in that kind of red block area. That easement area will be approximately 19 feet by 50 feet. There is not, with this exhibit, it's just kind of a general area. They weren't exactly sure of the exact point. Most of these that I see that come through have a meets and bounds description. This does not. I know I believe they were on site today. I did see Rocky Mountain Power employees down on site with I know a new power pole look like and getting ready to install this, but they were working with county employees and that to figure out exactly where they're going to need to put all this new electrical equipment. So that's the reason why it's not like pinpointed down to a meets and bounds description. And I guess that's, from what I understand with Rocky Mountain Power, it's common that they've done agreements like this in the past.
On this particular electrical service that has been there, they're making some upgrades, is my understanding, to
Yes.
accommodate the new grandstands and the lighting and all that. But it's also my understanding that Rocky Mountain Power or Pacific Power, they maybe did not hold this easement previously. The line was there, and that might have been something that happened. Is that correct?
That is my understanding. I believe they have had utilities there, and they have not been covered with an easement. So this easement will, I imagine, cover their access in and maintenance of their facilities.
Protect us, protect the county. So it's just kind of interesting that, at some point, I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, but at some point there was a decision to put this line in there that there was no, and I assume that happened many years ago, I would think. So probably good to get it cleaned up.
Yes.
Is there an introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce with a motion to pass.
Mr. Lynch with the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Welling seconding. Any discussion? No. No discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Is there any opposed? That's approved. Thank you. Resolution 2340. Ms. Kirby, read that title for us, please.
Yes, Your Honor, and if it's okay with the council, I'll read 2340 and 41 together.
Oh, excellent idea.
Thank you. 2340 is a resolution of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, authorizing and ratifying the execution of an agreement with Conwest Incorporated to provide professional services for the Evanston City Hall roof project. 2341, similarly, same company, but this would be for the Roundhouse roof project.
Beautiful. Thank you. Is there we're just going through the process of getting ready to put a new roof on this building and a new roof on is it the whole roundhouse? I was thinking it was just that section 4, but maybe I'm not. Maybe it's the whole thing. Well, come on, Gordon.
Everyone's looking at me, and I don't know.
Take a guess.
Whatever it is,
Take a
we've talked
guess.
about it for quite a while, and anybody who's spent any time in this building, you know that the roof leaked today, I'm sure. So, I think they both need to be done. Any questions on this resolution that, or either one of these? I guess we could do them simultaneously. Is there introduction on resolution 2340?
I'll introduce with a motion to pass, Your Honor.
I'll second it.
Welling seconding. Any discussion?
I just wanted to ask, Conwest, it's, as I remember, it's not a local company, and then Council Member Welling, you were kind enough to explain with outside state.
They fall under the Preference Act, and they'll have to go through that process of advertising local jobs for 9 days. And after 9 days, if they haven't hired, then they can bring their project, start their project. All government out of state contractors have to go through the Preference Act, so.
And I can clarify too, Councilwoman Hageman, that this was bid out once before locally, and we got 0 bids.
0 bids.
On both of these jobs, and so then it was put into Utah circulation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But there's an opportunity for local people that have the skill sets that they're looking for, that if they apply and they meet that specific skill set, then they would have to hire them. So, and that's what I do. It's a fun job.
Maybe that's a great thing for the website, for local contractors.
It's in all the contracts that they have to fall under the Wyoming Preference Act. It's in their contracts, they got to do that, so. Anytime they bid, they talk about it too.
No, I mean like help wanted.
Oh, sure.
For here, for, make it
Well,
very clear.
we advertise it in our, that we post them in Wyoming at Work, which is statewide and also local, and if anybody's looking for a job, they're searching through Wyoming at Work, and then I always put it on the broader basis through the states, so. But it's to hire locals if they have those skill sets. And if they don't go through that, then it's a big fine of $10,000 a day, per job.
Who gets the 10 grand?
State of Wyoming, of course.
Let's make it 15.
Doesn't go to me.
Share it with them, Elizabeth. Further discussion? If there is none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That is approved as well, and I guess we can move on. Is there introduction on 2341?
I'll introduce the motion to pass, Your Honor.
Mr. Welling with a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lynch seconding. Discussion here. Same kind of a process, same kind of a deal, same company.
And they'll have to do a separate advertisement for that project, since it's 2 different locations, so.
Further discussion? If there is none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? 2341 has passed. Resolution 2342. Ms. Kirby, read that title for us, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution 2342 is a resolution of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, authorizing a software service agreement with Cassell Incorporated, a Utah corporation.
Thank you. Mr. Sheets.
Mayor, Council. So we already have a service agreement with Cassell, and we've had for, I don't know how many years, probably decades even. This service agreement actually changes to, instead of having a self-hosted server, it's the cloud-hosted server. I know Trudy's, I think, talked about it in a work session before today. She's prepared some notes regarding the actual end-user portion of it. By going to the hosted, they actually provide you with every single one of their modules. So it'll actually be 8 additional ones that we don't already have. Some of those include the human resources module that will enhance our internal controls and payroll. It's got the animal control licensing, it can provide better tracking of those fees. It's got materials management to track the inventory of supplies. It's got project accounting and to better track and report on capital projects. And then some of the advantages to going to hosting, and some of them are IT related in addition to the end user related. When it's hosted, the server's no longer here, so you technically can connect to Cassell no matter where you are. You wouldn't have to, VPN to this building or be in this building. There'll be off-site backup of our records with Cassell. There's continued unlimited support for any questions or issues. Continual updates to the system at no additional cost, which will be done by them instead of having to do them myself quarterly. Usually they release a new patch quarterly that I have to stay after and install it. We wouldn't have to purchase any additional hardware. The current server is in need of being replaced, and so by going to host a cloud host solution from Cassell, we would no longer have to purchase any hardware related to the actual server portion of that. The cost is, she put down about $15,917 more per year, but with additional modules, equipment, and offsite backup, we feel it's well worth the additional cost. A lot of the companies that Cassell signs up new, they've let us know actually just opt for the hosted solution to begin with. We started with Cassell when they were still giving us, you know, a series and stack of floppy disks to install it on the server. And it'll also, by having it hosted, it'll allow for IT to work on other projects and less time and hands-on maintaining the in-house server. And she did talk, I believe, in a work session that initially this service agreement is monthly, which is what we already been paying as monthly, but they offer if you pay per year, you do get a certain percentage of savings for paying a year at a time instead of bi-monthly. But I don't think that the number she gave me actually is for that.
I would bet not, you know. I don't think there's anything, I mean, I know that this program with Cassell is just about.
And it's pretty much the core of everything we do for the city.
Okay. Is there an introduction on Resolution 2342?
I'll introduce with a motion to pass.
Lynch with a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Your Honor.
Mr. Perks seconding. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 2343, Ms. Kirby, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution 2343 is a resolution of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, authorizing the signing of a storm drain easement amendment with Clean Energy, a California corporation. And I'll actually take this one, Mayor and Council, if you recall, when we sold the Clean Energy property to them a few months ago, we did at that time execute an easement for storm drain that Mr. Barker said was critical to us being able to have maintenance, access for maintenance too. Clean Energy was amenable to that. We didn't pay them anything for the easement. They just, as part of the sale, they provided that to us. However, we had lots of snow at that time and was not able to get a proper survey done. And so it was based off of a map that was prepared by our Planning and Zoning Office, and now an actual survey has been prepared, and we are just asking to amend the current easement with them to include that real survey rather than just the map.
Excellent.
Housekeeping.
Yes. Is there an introduction on Resolution 2343?
I'll introduce it with a motion to pass, Your Honor.
Perks. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lynch seconding. Discussion.
Yeah, this is just cleaning up what we've already done, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That is approved. Ordinance 2303, Ms. Kirby, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an ordinance of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, naming an unnamed roadway located on city property as described and set forth on the map attached here too. And this is a first reading.
Mr. Lichty, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. This, you can see on the photo, the property at the bottom of the photo, they are the ones requesting this name. Currently, there's no name on that access. And the two, 16 Yellow Creek and 18 Yellow Creek, they are addressed off of Yellow Creek, but they don't really access to Yellow Creek, so they would be part of this as well, and they've been talked to, and they've agreed that that's fine with them. And then at 843, I'm not sure, is that city property?
The 843 6th Street? I was going to say, I
YDOT
think that's
property.
state, or yeah, YDOT.
YDOT property. So this would, the part that's in blue would be the named street, and then we'd have to, before Yellow Creek was realigned, 6th Street went up what's showing 6th Street now, and dead ended right there. And that 806th Street is still addressed off of 6th Street, so that would remain as is.
And that's Muriel,
Yes,
Timberley, right?
yep.
I know that we've talked about this for some time. I know we've moved forward fairly slow and methodically to make sure, because, you know, it's no small thing. Granted, there's only a couple of homes here, but when you do name a street or change the name of a street, that can be, anyway, a pretty big impact to people. I mean, people don't realize that affects
It does.
a checkbook, and it affects a driver's license, you know, all kinds of
I've had to-
subscriptions and who.
I've had to send letters changing addresses, and sometimes it doesn't make them real happy, but these people have been contacted.
Yeah, I do know that that we've reached out as a city to nearly everybody involved, and so I think I'm comfortable moving forward with this.
And currently, the property that requested it, they're currently addressed off of 6th Street as well, which doesn't even make any sense anymore.
Well, this is an ordinance, and this is our first reading, so I guess we need a sponsor. Mr. Welling, you're going to be our
I'll
sponsor?
sponsor it.
All right. Are there any questions on this before we move forward with a motion? I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2303 on first reading.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Lynch with a motion.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
With a second. Any discussion on the motion? If there is none, all in favor say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? That has passed first reading. Ordinance 2304. Ms. Kirby, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an ordinance of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, amending Section 12-2 of the Evanston City Code. The title, Certain Provisions of Uniform Act Regulating Traffic on Highways, to the City Code, to amend the included statutory provisions for clarification and to avoid duplication. And I will take this one as well, Your Honor.
Please.
I think you and some of the members of the council are aware that the Evanston Police Department, the vehicles have been equipped with laptops. Part of that system is going to be that we're going to have electronic ticketing, electronic citations like Wyoming Highway Patrol does. And once that came about, I've been working with Sergeant Sheets and in putting in all of the codification into the system, we need to make sure that there's not any duplication, because right now the officers, they just know what the bond schedule is. If it's speeding, if it's hit and run, you know, they pretty much have that memorized, and if they don't, they can go back to it. Now it's going to be a drop-down menu, so we need to make sure that it's accurate to what our code reflects for the bond schedule and for the fine amount. And so I went back and looked at our section 12.2 of the ordinance. I didn't look, and I apologize for when the date that was last updated, but I'm sure it's been some years. When we were doing those other ordinance changes, it had been some time. And there are some statutory provisions that we don't need to adopt because we already have our own section of the code for. So some of the strikeouts that you'll see in there, it would be because we already have it. So for speeding, for example, there is a statutory provision, but we already have our own code for that, and we go by a different bond amount for the speeds. Parking, we already have our own sections for that. There are some different traffic signals, motorcycle codes. We have some of our own sections for that. So of course, if we have our own code, we always ask our guys to write under that versus under the state statute. And then some of these state statutes just don't exist anymore or have been renumbered. And so I just cleaned that up so that if you are going back and referring to this, that you'll go to a statute that actually exists. So I will obviously have a clean reading for this if it gets to a third reading, but that is the purpose of doing this.
Sure. Okay. I'm glad that you got to read all those statutes. That'd be that's tough reading. I guess this ordinance as well, we need a sponsor here as well. Somebody's
Be the sponsor.
Mr. Lynch will be our sponsor. Is there any questions before we move with a motion? I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2304 on first reading.
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Welling with a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Perk seconding. Discussion. There's no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That is approved on first reading. Thank you. Departments. First, you got anything from the police department tonight for us? No, Your Honor. Okay. Dwayne, Preston, Mr. Robinson. We're missing several tonight, so we're moving through pretty fast. Ms. Harris.
Nothing for me, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Lichty, you're here representing the planning office. Do you have anything for us tonight? Okay. Appreciate all of you. Public participation. Is there anyone here from the public that has would like to address the council for any reason? Please, come on up. Welcome, sir. Haven't seen you for a while. I don't blame
My
you.
name's James Ardeen. I live at 142 Valley View, Evanston, Wyoming. I'm here. I don't know if it's a proper venue for it, but I want to invite the mayor and the council, the public, to honor some veterans that have been forgotten here in Evanston. As some of you know, there's a section in city cemetery that belongs to the state hospital. And for years, even when I was a little kid, used to put flags on graves at the cemetery. And there's a section in the state hospital where there was 5 graves. One had a regular government-issued marker, and the other ones just had these little wooden markers. The last person, he died in 1962. And if you know, I don't know their history about these guys or why they ended up being buried here or if they were forgotten or whatever, but they didn't have real markers, and it bugged me and my brother. So anyway, we belong to the VFW, and for the last few years we've been trying to get markers for these 4 other guys that are buried there in the cemetery. We got hold of the state hospital and they gave us what records they could because of whatever records they had back in the day. We submitted what we had to the federal government. Hope nobody from the federal government here, but the VA system is not a very good system. We got rejected. I even contacted Senator Brasso to try to see if he could push them. That didn't help us. So we decided just to buy them. So we found a place in Utah that made our markers for us. We've set them in the hospital cemetery. And on June 17th, we're inviting you to come at 1 o'clock to come honor these guys as we do a military tribute to these 5. One was a Spanish-American War guy. 3 were World War I, and 1's a World War II guy. Like I say, don't know who they were, got their names, but we need to honor them, and want to invite you all to come.
Tell me the time again.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock? And you've secured these markers?
Yes, they're set. We've set them.
Taken care of it already? Wow.
Yep.
I appreciate that invitation. I will...
Like I say, we don't know who they were.
Sure.
Whatever reason, their lives ended up where they did, but
Sure.
we do know they served our country, and we want to honor them.
I agree. I agree. Thank you. That is, I agree. I don't know what else to say. That's kind of an emotional thing.
It is.
I appreciate what you've done. I thank you for that invitation. I will do my best to be there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just thank you guys for putting out flags And
yes.
at the cemetery every year and the pinwheels, that's huge.
That, I don't want to take up all your time because you got more important things, but that's one of the best thing I do every year is put flags out there at the cemetery. This year we put out 952.
Wow.
It's from the Civil War up till today. People that just served all our wars, Cold War, some are killed in service, but putting those flags out is really neat when they just sit there.
Yeah, it's
If
beautiful.
I was a little kid, my mom used to keep track, I probably shouldn't tell you this because it probably angers some people. She kept the list of names, and some of the names was like Slim or Red or I knew who they were, but I didn't actually know what these guys' names were till I wrote them down on a piece of paper. But all those, basically it was a World War II people, they, Slim and Red, and everybody knew who these people were in our community. And anyway, that is a neat thing I really enjoy doing.
But it really adds the cemetery on Memorial Day.
It does.
Thank you.
And I'll just add, just from a personal note, my father is a was a World War II veteran. My grandfather was a World War I veteran. Now that seems kind of strange, given maybe I'm not as old as I look, but it seems strange that my father was a World War II veteran, in that he would be in excess of 100 years old now, and I'm not yet 60. Which tells you he was too old to be having kids when I came along. But having said that, my parents, my father, my grandfather is buried nearly 900 miles from here. It's very difficult for me to get there on Memorial Day, and I do know that there are groups that ensure that at that cemetery, all those miles away, make sure that there's a flag on those graves every year. And so I appreciate what you're doing here for those people who some cannot come here, because I'm receiving that same service from similar-minded people 900 miles from here. So I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate what they do for my family. And so thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Anyone else? If nothing else, I guess we'll adjourn. Thank you all.